In this lesson, we're going to begin the process of mirroring our geometry. And what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start with the cockpit, because that's kind of where we started where we ended last time, and we did this off camera. Hopefully you did this off camera. And I'm going to bring up my UV texture editor, and what I want to do, this is what I did off camera. Basically, I split it so that the outer shell is separate, and then the inner shell, including this part down here, is part of the inner shell. Okay, so to do that, to basically make this happen, what I want to do is I want to isolate this. And this is a keyboard shortcut. Control 1 isolates it. And I'll go to my front view and hit F to center my view. And I'm going to grab all my vertices, and it blacks out on my laptop when I marquee select. If you don't like that, if it bothers you, just go to Legacy Default Viewport and you can select it and it won't be a problem. And I'm going to use Absolute Transform and do the 0 and zero these out. I'm going to select here, and I'm going to go to Mesh, and I'm going to go to Mirror Geometry. Okay, now when I've done that, it's important, because what I want to do next is I want to grab my UVs. I just want to mark you. I don't want to try to get the center line. I want to just get some UVs from both shells, and right click and go to shell, and then flip these using that button right there. And we'll move that over. Now this part right here, I'm going to go ahead and go to shell, and I'm going to move it over until it intersects here, and then I'm going to rotate this shell. I'm going to press D and V to snap my rotator, and then I'm going to just rotate it so that it's not, I don't want it to overlap too much, but just enough to where it gets close. And then we will go to edge. I'll grab this edge here, and I'll try to double click there, grab those edges. And another way of doing this is I like to marquee select, shift marquee select, and then control marquee select to deselect. And it's important that you do that, because what's going to happen is if you leave this there and you try to do that, that's going to happen. That's bad. So go make sure that you've got the right ones. I press Q. You got the right ones, deselect, only the right ones deselect. These internal can be selected, but nothing on the edges on a shell edge can be selected. I'm just going to merge these two. I'm not going to move and sew. I'm just going to sew them as is. And then I'm going to UV select the shell, and I'm going to go to my unfold command, and I'll use the unfold 3D, and that, as we know, that will also lay things out. And that actually looks pretty good. Legacy is not going to do much better. I can uncheck pin UV border and click on it. Well, it's actually a little bit better. The question is, do you want this rounder or flatter? If I pin the UV border, it really isn't going to make much difference at all. Remember, the point of this is to make sure that the shell, the polygons in the shell, are basically the same format as what you see in the viewport, same size in relationship to one another. All right, so I'm going to press Control 1 and bring that up. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do my the elevator, and this is fairly easy. I'm going to grab this, press 1. All of my vertices are on the center line, so I can just go ahead and mirror my geometry like so. And I will grab the UVs like so and shell them and flip them, and we'll move them over here. Go to edge, and I will just click there, and then I can do this in my viewport, deselect these edges and sew them. Actually, I was a move and sew, which is fine. Do that, we'll shell it, and we'll do our unfold. Undo that and go to unfold options. We'll do the regular one and click apply. All right, that looks pretty good. It's all unfolding it. That looks about right. Next, press my Control 1 and bring up my rudder. I'll go to select it and press Control 1 again. That's a nice keyboard shortcut. And we'll bring up our vertices, and I'll marquee select along the center line and make sure I get the center line nothing but the center line selected. That's really important. You want to make sure it's just the center line. So what you can also do is just double click an edge along the center line and then convert those to vertices. Go to vertices and absolute transform them, select, and mirror your geometry. All right, now doing this is a little bit trickier because it's got, you do have a center line, but the center line that really matters is the one along the outside edge. So we're going to have to be cognizant of that as we work. So I'm going to grab again a set of not the center line UVs, but some center lines within each shell, and I will shell select this and flip. Okay, and now the question is, how much of this do you want to be connected? So, like for example here, I might connect these two, deselect that, and then move and sew. And I have these connected, but these center lines are not. Now, I like to make sure that my center lines are all matched up, and that comes from character. It just keeps things from being too, it just keeps any mistakes from cropping up later on in the pipeline. All right, so I've got this edge here. I'm going to do the same thing for the edge, this top edge here. I've got those edges at the top selected. I can move and sew, and that will flip these over so that I've got I don't have the seam is at the bottom. Okay, so if I click here, it's at the bottom of this, and that's a good way to go. If you think you're gonna see that hole or see that pin, the bottom of that pin, then you might want to reverse that. Okay, so we'll do the same thing here. I will select these edges, that edge there, and move and sew. We'll do the same thing for the piece that goes up here in this hole. And again, I'm then holding down the control key and marquee selecting to deselect those edges and moving and sewing. Now, if you make the mistake and do this, if that happens, something bad is something's gone wrong. Yeah, you can see it's got the edge of that hole. You don't want that. That's why it's really crucial to deselect those edges and move and sew. Go over here and then deselect and move and sew. Now that leaves this part of the rudder, and here's where you get to decide, because this is the back end, and the question is going to be, do you want a seam running down the backside of the rudder? And that's really the question that you have to ask yourself. Go to shell, move this over. Do I want a seam running down the back of this, and is it going to matter, especially when I get my when I put my wood texture on there? And that's an open question that we'll have to deal with at the time. I'm going to leave it for now, and I'm going to go to unfold. Actually, I've got these, so I'm going to go ahead and lay these out. And I'm going to lay it out. I'm going to pre-scale it to world. Single, scale model is uniform, rotation of, I'll go to 90 degrees and click OK. And that actually looks pretty good. What I can do is I can rotate this, because I know that the wood texture is going to go this way anyway. And it's laid out into a square, so I can then go none and click apply. And it will give me that. And again, I'm going to need to probably make some changes later on anyway. All right, so that is the rudder. We've done everything except the fuselage. And so let's go ahead and press Control 1. And let's bring up the fuselage. And let's go ahead and Control 1 to isolate it. We'll go to our front view. We'll go to Vertex. And I'll bring up my... This is a little tougher, so what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to go to Edge, and I'm going to double click, and I want to make sure that I get F to Okay, did not get the top edge, so I'll double click there. There we go. And that's got our center line. Perfect. And we will zero that out. Whoops, let me change that to vertices and zero it out and select and mirror geometry. Boom. All right, so what we've done in this lesson, we now have our geometry is mirrored. And what we've done in this lesson is we've mirrored all the geometry. We have not mirrored our we have not mirrored the UVs on the body yet. Actually, I'll go ahead and do that real quick because it's easy. We'll go to UVs, and again, I just want to get enough of each shell to when I shell it and then flip it, I'll have this as is. Now, in the next lesson, what we will do is we will finish the UVs on the body, and then we'll mirror the wings and the wheels, and then we'll be ready to lay out our UV shells.